We're so glad to have you here for our September National Virtual Gathering. These online gatherings happen the first Wednesday of every month, and we're here together for 1 hour. It's always 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. My name is Nancy Anderson, and I have the joy of serving as the media director for the National Ladies Homestead Gathering, or NLHG, as we refer to us as. We're a national nonprofit organization where women come together to share and celebrate all things homesteading. So whether you're raising goats, growing herbs on a balcony, or somewhere in between, you belong here. We currently have 26 chapters across the country, each meeting monthly, along with a vibrant private online community. It's a place where women are encouraged, supported, and seen, wherever they are on their homestead journey. Our purpose of NLHG is to empower women through homesteading, and our mission is to share knowledge, build community, and grow friendships. If you're already part of our community, thank you so much. We are so glad you're here. And if you're watching this replay later on YouTube and want to get involved, it's easy. Just head over to www.nlhg.org and sign up. Joining our community is absolutely free, and it's the best way to get connected. Now, I'd like to take a moment and thank our VIPs, our very invested partners. For just $35 a year, our VIP membership helps cover the real-world costs of running a national nonprofit, things like insurance, marketing, our website, and launching new local chapters. It's important to note that everyone involved, from our national board to our local chapter leaders, is 100% volunteer. No one earns a paycheck from this. We give our time because we believe in supporting each other and building this incredible community of women. And VIPs get some fantastic benefits in return, including discounts, exclusive content inside our VIP vault, and a chance to promote your own business within the community. Speaking of perks, our NLHG swag shop is open. If you're on a mobile device, you'll find it near the bottom of your Mighty Networks home screen. If you're on a computer, look for Swag Shop near the bottom left-hand navigation bar. So just so you ladies know, the hen shirt in our swag shop will be leaving and will be replaced with another fantastic design. So if you've had your eye on that shirt and quite haven't committed to the purchasing of it, go ahead and head over and get it before it's gone. The deadline is September 15th. I've actually had my mind on it for a couple months, and I just bought it last night. So I'm excited to get it. We're also thrilled to talk about one of our partners, Shenandoah Homestead Supply. So they support homestead dairy with all the essentials for daily operations. Shenandoah Homestead Supply is an American premier supplier of stainless steel for the small dairy. A link to their website will be in the chat. And as a VIP, you get 10% off your order. You can find all the details and access your discounts by logging into your VIP account at www.nlhg.org or by joining as a new VIP today. As a reminder, tonight's replay will be posted in our VIP vault by tomorrow and on our YouTube channel in about 2 weeks. If you haven't explored the YouTube channel yet, I highly recommend it. There are over 45 previous National Virtual Gathering replays, and they are full of amazing knowledge. And now it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's guest speaker, Rachel Buck. Rachel lives in the beautiful Priest River area of North Idaho and is an active member of our Bonner County chapter. She's the mother of 2 and a brand new first-time grandmother. She owns Upper Left Trading Company, a small ingredient conscious business that prioritizes local sourcing whenever possible. For over 22 years, she and her family have been dedicated to supporting local farmers, buying produce in bulk for preserving, joining CSAs, and purchasing whole animals directly from ranchers. A master food safety advisor through the University of Idaho Extension, Rachel volunteers her time teaching others how to preserve food safely. She also supports the Panhandle Farm Corridor, helping promote the region's exceptional small farms. For Rachel and her family, healthy local food isn't just a priority, it's a way of life. We're so honored to have her with us tonight. If you have any questions during Rachel's presentation, please type them in the chat and we'll hold a Q&A session during the last 10 minutes or so of our time together. So let's give Rachel a warm welcome.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rachel.
Thank you. Thanks for bearing with us, you guys. So my name is Rachel Buck. I volunteer with a local nonprofit in Idaho here, Panhandle Farm Corridor. I connected with them just as a member of the community that's passionate about sourcing locally to give talks in this local area when I can. I was born and raised in the inland Northwest, and my family hails from eastern Washington and Idaho. We currently reside in Priest River, like they said, and I'm an active member in the Bonner County chapter. I operate Upper Left Trading Co. in our area, producing hippie dry shampoo, lotion bars, hair oil using organic, when I can, or locally sourced ingredients. My husband and I have been married for 19 years, and I have 2 children. They all 3 hunt game, and I'm the honorary processor. This is kind of my creds because it's not like normal creds. So I've been preserving food since 2002 in some capacity. And that amounts to supporting local food for over 20 years now. I'm fairly efficient with water bath canning, dehydrating, fermenting, great at sourdough discard recipes, but not so much at crafting the loaf. We often buy in bulk from farms for both produce and meat, and have participated in various CSAs throughout the years. So it's part of our family's ethos to source locally with intention and to continue to growing in this practice. So I'm deeply passionate about supporting this system. It's rooted in the ways of our ancestors, and that's why it's important to me. While we embrace the circular economy in many aspects of our life, local sourcing remains at the heart of our daily efforts. So I wanted to start this by saying that I hope that no matter where you are at on your homesteading journey, you will find one small portion of this talk that you can ease into your routine. If each person takes intentional actions, small intentional actions, it'll help the local community food systems and small businesses around us. There's me and my husband there. So here's kind of a table of contents. I won't go through each of them, but this is kind of what we'll be discussing. Included at the end of will be a national resources option, and then explore the presentation option, or explore your national resources to explore and presentation resources to explore. We'll drop some of the links in the chat, but understand that often the links that are shared can be used for multiple local sourcing opportunities. So there's a couple that are big ones that you can go back to continually to find those resources in your area. So here's my definitions. I just kind of wanted to go over this in the thought of considering how to do intentional sourcing. So local means within 100 miles from the spot right here. Oftentimes local farmers markets use this as how they operate within that ethos as well. That extends across state borders and into mountain ranges. So consider this 2 hours drive from you. Regionally, here in the inland Northwest, that includes eastern Washington, North Idaho, northeastern Oregon, and western Montana. If you're in, say, Oklahoma, the region is west, south, central, including Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Texas. And honestly, you'll probably understand your local region better than I do, but I like to think of that as a day away as the bird flies. So if you can get there in a day, that's kind of your region. And we source a lot of our food within our region. A community food system, according to Steve Garrett from WSU Extension Facility, and Gail Fenstra, a local food systems analysis, they define a community food system in one in which sustainable food production, processing, and distribution and consumption are integrated to enhance the environmental, economic, and social and nutritional health of a particular place. So in essence, it's a long-term goal towards which many communities strive together. Networks and collaborations like Panhandle Farm Corridor that I volunteer with are a community food system. Additional networks in our area include Green Bluff Growers, Spokane Farm Corridors, which includes a south, a valley, a west plains, and a north loop option. In your region, consider looking for food networks. Supporting these networks is not a new thing. We're simply reestablishing our connection to what already existed within our world. Now, I know everybody kind of understands like the idea of a farmer's market, but I kind of didn't want to skip over it because it's kind of an important, vibrant part of a local community food system. So the good old Webster definition is a market at which local farmers sell their agricultural products directly to consumers. There's a lot of value add products. I do a lot of selling at farmers markets as well, and that helps me to network with those farmers, which is a pretty awesome bonus. So then we have community supported agriculture. We'll go more into depth in that later, but the acronym is known as a CSA. Finally, I wanted to touch on a circular economy versus a linear economy. So a linear economy follows a make, take, dispose approach where resources are extracted, used to make a product, and then discarded as waste. That is a system that we've typically grown up in and witnessed within our adult lives. A circular economy, in contrast, is based on the principles of reducing waste, reusing materials, and recycling products to extend their life. That promotes sustainable consumption and reduces the ecological impact of actions. When we discuss sourcing food locally, our actions are supporting a circular economy, where we make intentional choices that help close the loop in our food system and in turn strengthen our local community. For perspective, this is a system we are only 2 generations removed from. So it hasn't been that long since that was the normal way of life just within our own country. Our family strives to go back to this mindset in many ways, foods included. Additional ways we do this is by thrifting our needs. Now the why. So we have many things we can focus on as far as our whys on sourcing locally. I wanted to cover both negative and positives as to what motivate my personal why. Farms in our countries are slowly disappearing and consolidating into larger multinational corporations. According to the Idaho Farm Bureau, nationally, 142,000 farms were closed in a 5-year period in our nation between 2017 and 2022. According to the same source, 144,000 acres of farmland in the state of Idaho had been taken out of production. We've witnessed this in our area a lot, where farmland is going into housing developments. I'm sure you can think of a pocket in your local area where the same is occurring. Positively, though, I do think here there's a surge in small-scale farms or market gardens. I'm unsure if this entity collects data on that at this current juncture. Be good to find that. According to a 2021 Reuters article, our current meat industry breakdown is as follows. So Tyson Food, technically a USA-owned company, ran by Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are the top shareholders. 1 second. They produce 1/5 of the meat processed in the USA. They're the largest chicken producer. JBS SA, owned by a Brazilian multinational corporation, is the world's largest meat packer. National Beef Packing Co., controlled by Brazilian beef producer Marfgrade, I trip over that a lot, Global Foods. And then lastly, you have Cargill, which is considered the largest family-owned business in the United States. These 4 entities total processed 25% of the meat industry in 1977. Then in 71, it was 1992. In 1992, it was 71%. And as of 2021, it's 85%. So 85% of the meat that is consumed in the United States as of 2021 was by 4 companies. So I think it's fair to assume the number has risen in the past 4 years, not gone down at this point. I, for one, prefer diversification and decentralization of my food supply, not consolidation. And that takes intentionality from us as consumers. The other aspect of why I source locally, on the not so good reasons, is the humanitarian conditions and ethics. We could go on in regards to that topic. It's just inhumane conditions that animals live in these facilities. They're called CAFOs, the concentrated animal feed operations, but that's an entirely new presentation. Let's just leave it at it is incredibly unmerciful. So stewardship over these creatures kind of demands better of humanity. So on a positive note, I firmly believe that we all hold within our own individual power to take tiny steps that have a big ripple effect. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be strict by any means. But by purchasing growing intentionally, we can be a part of a bigger movement that is happening across the country. Now, don't get me wrong, we occasionally eat fast food, and we can't always buy local because sometimes you just have to take care of what you need in the moment and life happens. So we try to live by an 80-20 rule, and 80% is what I do what I can, and 20% is out of my control, and we all have to give ourselves grace and compassion towards the goal, much like my attempts at sourdough. So Diane Green from Green Tree Naturals out of Sandpoint, Idaho, created a fantastic informational brochure on reasons to support your local small acreage farmers. She emphasizes, by supporting local, you cut out the middleman and the farmer gets the full retail value of their products. By buying directly from the farmer, it crafts a relationship between you and the family, you and that family. It gives you greater insight into the seasons and what goes into growing your food. And if you live in a city, this in turn gives your family as well access to learn more about nature and agriculture. This all supports that circular economy that is abundantly more healthy for us and the planet. She emphasizes that local fruits and vegetables support the genetic diversity of your particular region. And oftentimes these seeds are heirloom, passed on genetic material that is hundreds of years old. The continual growth in your region fine-tunes this process to help the strong plants survive. Not only does that local food taste better, it's better for you. It's pretty much just that simple. Now, additional points beyond what Ms. Green makes are, you take more control of your own supply chain. There's something wildly empowering about that process. This help reduces unnecessary carbon outputs and reinforces food security within your region. And by eating in season, we have switched our mindset to picking up those items that are outside of season as a treat, not as a habit, and that takes intentionality. Now, I would be in error if I didn't say that your first resources for your local food loop is your closest family and friends. It starts by just sharing produce. It's pretty much that simple. If you're good at tomatoes, but your friend is not, and has a ton of beets in the ground, trade. If you have veggie surplus and you know you aren't going to be able to process it, call 5 friends and offer first come, first serve. We have also partnered with friends and family for weekend canning parties. My best friend, her husband, and my husband have had marathons where we would process 100 pounds of cukes or apples. It makes a lot of work go by in a shorter amount of time while everybody's manning a station and an assembly line, and we all had a ball as well. If you want to start buying in bulk, find the one produce in your area that has major surplus and seems easy to acquire. For us, it was apples, and that was our first step that taught me a lot in the canning process. Although now my kids will tell you that they had way too much applesauce and cannot eat that much of it at this point, so don't burn your family out like I did. That's a real thing. They tease me about it all the time. The great thing about our local LHG chapters is that many of us are already doing this. If your chapter isn't already, definitely consider how you can implement this system that works for you guys within your local area. Now, another community option is grouping together to raise animals for butcher. I would only consider this option if you are close to those you are partnering with. A couple of things you should consider. It takes intentional planning and communication from both parties. When doing this, you aren't making money. That's in the business realm. If you're at that point, this is a business and that's a different entity. Consider a contract outlining your agreements and costs. If infrastructure hasn't been put in yet, these costs should be discussed up front. Consider a deposit or how to split the costs as the project goes. Cautionary tale too, if you don't plan to butcher the animal yourselves, do get on a list for a butcher as soon as possible. We have scrambled and learned that one the hard way when it came to pig butchering time. These dates can sometimes be booked out a year in advance. Some further points to consider as an example is to raise a 250-pound pig for market, it takes 750 pounds of feed. A 1-ton sack can be purchased locally to reduce food costs. We've purchased these totes and then moved the grain into food-safe drums to keep it safe from critters. This cost can then be split equally at the time of purchase, so that helps keep it all kind of rolling through and boundaries are healthy that way. So a CSA, as in a community-supported agriculture. At the beginning of the season in the spring, you purchase a share of the farm and become a member during the growing season. This allows the farmer to fund investments at the beginning, like seeds, equipment, and inputs when they need it most, right up front. It helps offset the risk for them. This intentionality really helped us as consumers develop a relationship with specific farms. You grow to know your sources incredibly well, and you get to have the relationship and the partnership. Just over time, you appreciate the work they put on in. Our family has participated in 3 separate CSAs. One where we went to the farm each week as a member and could purchase produce at a discounted rate. That allowed us to pick up items where we wanted, what items we wanted, but we did have to be intentional about going. The most recent CSA we had was a drop point where we could pick up our farm box weekly. If we did not pick up the box, we would need to arrange with a friend to snag the box for us. We did an experiment that growing season where we weighed the items in the box to see how much we received, and that was a really fun project to track. It's a good homeschooling project too. By receiving that box weekly without picking out the items, it forced me to get creative in the kitchen. So when in doubt, I did an Asian themed stir fry, and we also did quite a bit of jerk, like leathers, dehydrated leathers that year, and the kids really enjoyed that. The neat thing about a CSA is that the baker dozens model is typically there participating, and the farmer wants you to have a great experience. It's in their best interest. So they really like to develop those partnerships. Finding a CSA program to participate in promotes that sustainable agriculture and voting with your dollars. It also helps to support that circular economy model where your money stays in your local community. Localharvest.org, USDA Agriculture Marketing Services, and CSA Coalition are all great starts to your CSA search. I believe we're gonna put the links up, and they'll definitely be at the end of the slide there, so for those. Another place to check is honestly like Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, because people will post within those areas, and they might not have like an established farm, but they might be doing the practices that you would like to have. And you'll be able to help them even as maybe they're just getting started. So it's a neat time to do that. When you go on those websites, you can refine your search to focus specifically on CSA programs to check out that are in your area. You can also consider splitting funds, the funds and picking up duties with another family. That can help offset the cost and the time to collect your items. So just half it with another family and they get it one week and you get it the other week and everybody kind of wins. It's a good community building activity. So relationship building. Key to developing partnerships with farms is directly is like any other relationship. While we all kind of have thoughts and opinions about how things should be done and grown, it's important to remember that you are developing a relationship. Growing these direct partnerships takes thoughtfulness and a commitment to learn. Farmers work incredibly hard with long hours and incredibly difficult weather. They are often put under immense pressure and genuinely love what they do. It's important to remember this through the whole process. Approaching the conversation ready to learn is a must. Farmers markets are great places to connect, and sometimes there will be time for a longer conversation, but if it's pretty crowded, maybe ask to schedule a farm visit, and it'll be a great step in developing that relationship. I am typically pretty direct in my questions about bulk pricing too, especially for produce. I'll oftentimes ask, like, what pound mark can I get bulk pricing from your farm? Because they might have in their mind, like, we'll do bulk pricing at 100 pounds or 150 pounds. And that doesn't mean that you have to purchase the produce at that moment, but you can set up a game plan for counting the produce once you understand when the products they are offering for bulk and when. That's a perfect time to schedule a canning party with your friends. Now, certified organic is really valuable, and it takes an incredible amount of time and work on the farmer's part to achieve that regulatory standard. But utilizing sustainable practices and supporting these businesses also holds value to the consumer. Farms have to be very careful when describing how they grow, as terms like certified organic are regulated. If the farm is not advertising organic, I like to ask various lines of questions to understand what kind of produce I'm getting. Some examples I'll do is, do you grow as God intended? Do you use added chemicals? Can you tell me more about your production methods? Or depending on the discussion, I'll just say, do you spray your produce? What kind of feed are you feeding your animals? And those are all kind of questions I'll ask depending on the conversation. It's good to ask like kind of open-ended questions and kind of just let them share with you, because a lot of times they do want to be transparent and have a positive community engagement to help build their brand and their business. So they're used to telling their story. Now, meat processing. When dealing with purchasing a quarter to whole animals, there's a few important terms to understand. Live weight means the animal on the hoof. Hanging weight is essentially the carcass once the head, hide is gutted and organs are removed. It can also be called the dressed weight or carcass weight. For cattle, 55 to 60% of live weight will be your hanging weight. You can estimate that 30% of that would be steaks, 30% will be roasts, and 40% will be turned into ground meat. For pork, the average hanging weight is 75%. A lamb's anticipated hanging weight is about 50%. So a 100-pound animal will yield you 50 pounds of meat. So they might tell you one thing at the hanging weight, and then when you get done and it's all said and done, understand that there's going to be, the percentage is going to be less than what you had initially maybe thought. So the farm you're ordering through may have a preferred butcher they will go through, and that's usually the case. Because of USDA laws, the relationship to purchase from the farm is, and then you connect with the butcher to process your animal. So you have your relationship with the farm, and then you have your separate relationship with the butcher. You can see some examples of cut sheets in my resources, but know that the sheets often differ from business to business. So as many butchers as you look up, the sheets are going to be individualized for the most part. I've not seen one repeat ever. When I first went through my first cut sheet, I had no idea what I was doing. So basically, if we hadn't had an opinion on something, I just asked the person what they liked best. What was typical, and then went with that. Because they fill them out all the time, I gained a lot of insight through that process. When ordering from a butcher, there are variables that can be additional cost. Some examples are extra charges for small packaging, like 1 to 2 steaks, first 3 or larger packages. Seasoning and smoking will be additional charge. A kill fee can also be an additional charge. And then grinding, which we'll see in a different slide, will be an additional charge. So those are things to understand when you're having that relationship, that it's very typical. So a good partnering opportunity is that if you want to make this step by purchasing just a fourth of a cow, maybe because of finances or freezer space, you can find somebody to split with. So the butcher will likely only want to make specific cuts for a half a cow option. But if you guys get your cut sheets preferences done together and then divide the meat up, you can take that step for the first time and make it a little bit more obtainable if you'd like. I would suggest, though, saving and going for that a half a cow option. Your cuts are a bit odd with a fourth versus of a half, and it'll get your family a lot further. By purchasing meat this way, we've insulated our family through economic turmoil, job transition, supply chain issues. It has provided financial protection and food security for us. So I emphasize space on this slide because it means freezer space. Freezer space is a big deal when it comes to this. If you have not taken the step to buy a half or a whole animal, I think it's important to mentally prepare you ahead of time for the anticipated space you'll need. 1 whole hog and a half a beef will likely take 2 average freezers. You can find freezers used or on discount if you keep your eye out for a good deal. In our house, we have a fridge freezer convert, so it can go fridge to freezer 1 unit. That saved our bacon a time or two because we had a party, one of the freezers was acting up and we had to switch to the other one. It's been a wise investment for us. We have an upright and we have a chest freezer. In the chest freezer, we use milk crates and a board to organize the meat and cycle it through. So the older meat always goes in the milk crate on top, So we know, okay, and that can be whether it's the upright or otherwise, and that creating that cycling process is incredibly important. So this is a Cushman Family Farms is a local farm that participates in the Panhandle Farm Corridor that I'm a part of, that I help support. This is just a cost breakdown to give you kind of an idea of what you're walking away with a bit. So they charge $4.25 a pound hanging weight across the board and offer a quarter, a half, or a whole cow option. They state that their average cow is between 750 and 1,000 pounds. Transparently sharing that a whole cow will range you between 3,185 to 4,250. They also share that if after you pay the farm and then the butcher, expect your whole cow to cost between $4,000 and $5,000. So let's break down the numbers a bit, okay? If we had an average, our average cow is 875 pounds. If we just wanted to get started sourcing that part of our cow for meat, and we went with a quarter of the animal, we would get 219 pounds of meat. Our price would then be $930.75 that goes to the farm. Then comes the butcher relationship. For our breakdown, we'll discuss the South Hill meat lockers located in Bonners Ferry. They charge $1 a pound to process with an added 15 cents per ground. This gives us a high estimated cost of $251.85. Obviously, not everything's going to go to ground, but you remember you're estimating about 40% of your animal well. So that gives us a total of $1,182 plus tax for that 219 pounds meat. Or $5.40 a pound. And that's for all your cuts. You'll be getting all the great cuts, you will be getting all these great cuts, less than the sale meat at our local grocery store. I do understand, though, that food prices can vary nationwide, so do your own breakdown in your area, but I'd be willing to bet that it's still cheaper to purchase direct from a farmer than the store across the board. And you're supporting your circular economy, you're keeping the funds in your community, and you're shortening your supply chain actively and all in one intentional step. For a financial perspective, understand that that's all your cuts. You're paying the same exact amount for steaks and roasts as you are for ground beef. All that being said, I would highly recommend going with the half a cow option at least. Yes, it will be a larger amount, but 219 pounds of meat won't feel like a lot, and it'll feel better to see your freezer stocked. The goal is to only have to go through the process once a year. Our house has a budget envelope that's labeled meat to squirrel away cash for these purchases. That way it makes the savings goal more obtainable. So even if it's $10, even if it's $20, even if it's $50, whatever you guys can do to go towards that goal, it just all adds up towards making it, your meat costs even cost less. So as of mid-August when writing, the national chain of Albertsons had advertised $7.99 a pound for ground beef. That's CAFO raised. Who knows what country it came from, or even how many animals are in that pound of ground beef. And that's just for the ground beef. That's not for the nicer cuts. A side note, I've heard from a local rancher that 1 pound of store-bought ground beef can contain up to 1,000 strands of DNA from that many unique animals. So, it's supporting local and being intentional with your money not only goes a bit farther, it's a bit better around. So, community food strategy. After you've searched through and inventoried your local resources, your results may differ depending on your area. If you feel called to or want to help promote your local food system, it's important to realize you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There is a movement across our nation for food empowerment out there. In the May 2025 Mother Earth News magazine, they have a great article on reinvesting in local food. They highlight that Community Food Strategies has a nice web-based template for community food snapshot to get you started. There will be a link shared for that. You can also maybe volunteer at your local farmers market if you have one and you feel called to do so. Consider how you can engage the children in understanding that where their food and nourishment comes from. This helps them not only connect with nature, also helps them understand. It also helps us remember as a generation. Remembering that we're only the 2 generations removed from this being the norm. Part of getting back to traditional skills mindset is bringing that next generation into the knowledge. We as a household believe in speaking with our wallets and the ripple effects of these decisions. So we actively vote with our dollars on that, and as it's a journey, it's not a destination. So each and every drop in the river counts. A great example of an area that's creating more food resiliency is North Carolina, specifically the Asheville area. They're a great example to check out on intentional steps of creating that local community food system. I wanted to present a few challenges to anyone, no matter what your living circumstances are. You can live in a tiny house, you can be in an apartment, and you can give one of these challenges a go. So number 1 would be utilizing a farmer's market to start shopping locally. Make your grocery list and farmer's market hop on a Saturday. I did this challenge in 2024 and was able to get most of my staples each week. I lasted for 3 straight months. So I just kept doing it, and I lasted for 3 months. The main reason I had to stop was because we were moving. So that made it real hard to continue through that process. It did really cause me to have to be intentional, and it helped me to cycle through what was in my pantry as well when I went through that process. Signing up for a CSA option that's closest to you. That does take a weekly commitment to pick up your items. I've enjoyed this intentional step over time. It all depends on what your life looks like during that season. There's different kinds of CSAs, so finding like the mode that would work best for you is kind of an individual decision. A lot of times they do pickups at farmers markets as well, or on farm location, or like I said, where there's a drop point. So kind of like Azure style drop point. You can call your local county extension office and schedule a time to connect with them to see what information they have on local farms and resources about the local food networks. It's likely they'll have information and have them printed up, and it'd be a great add to your LHG notebook. Look in your kitchen and decide what items you want to switch out for home canned. Is it peaches? Is it ketchup? Is it jam? Is it barbecue sauce? Is it applesauce or green enchilada sauce? Set the goal of sourcing and canning these. If you haven't canned yet, find a trusty friend in your group that has and take on the project together. Now, some safe resources for looking for website or recipes would be like the Ball website, the county extension office website, like University of Idaho, University of Colorado extension office, University of Georgia is a good one. University of Alaska is actually a really decent, they have all sorts of interesting things you can find on that one. And then also, of course, like the USDA website. Those are the ones that have been safety tested. Set a goal to venture to U-Pick farms, 5 of them in the growing season. That's been my personal goal this year, and I achieved it. So not only was the food better for my family, but I had a blast connecting with the farmers and visiting their farm stands. Set up a swap with a gardening friend, creating an intentional plan to grow certain products the next year, and then trade. So even though we're going into fall now, you can be like, hey, I'm going to grow these things. What are you going to grow? And then you guys can plan to swap in the fall or in the next growing season. Now, like I was joking about the tomatoes because I'm not good at growing tomatoes. I'd love to connect with a friend and trade produce next year for that one. So then the last one kind of goes back to the farmer's market by maybe just producing, you're buying your produce there 1 weekend a month. So you purposely go that 1 week a month to go to the farmer's market and pick up what you can and just do it, not every week, but just that one week. Yeah, so let's see here. Okay. I do want to thank you guys, and I do have a special promo code for VIP members. It'll be in the VIP vault to access and be able to use on my Upper Left Trading Co. website. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a bit of a Salatin fan. So getting to meet him at the Modern Homestead Conference was pretty spectacular for me. I wanted to end on one of his quotes here. So our community of rebels, of humble truth seekers, want to turn our culture around. We don't despise our country. We don't desire failure. We desire light, a beacon to show the world that our wealth need not show the way to a more rapid destruction, but can be leveraged to heal more acres, more backyards, more communities faster than civilization, than any civilization on the right path has ever done it. I find this inspiring. I don't need someone else to do that healing. We as a society are very capable of doing it. Every small step as a collective, we can become little drops in a river to change for good for the next generation. We don't have to do all the things. Each tiny step adds up. So thank you for listening. We would love to open up the discussion for questions and perspectives you'd like to share with the group on sourcing local. So let's learn from each other.
Okay, so I have a couple questions
Okay.
that have come up. So with CSAs, can you pick what kind of fruits and veggies you want in your box, or is it farm discretion?
It depends on the CSA. So like the one that I went to, they had the reduced rate. So because we had bought in at the beginning of the year, we got like a discounted rate and we got to then basically shop their farm store. But a lot of times they'll have like it's farm discretion. But they will kind of outline, this is what we're growing this year. So you have an idea of like, I want to be more vegetable heavy. I want to be more fruit heavy. Like they tend to be like, this is our plan, our mode of operation. And so like they probably have their tried and true things that have gone really well. And then they'll build out from there typically.
And are some CSAs more veggie heavy and some more fruit heavy? Is that something that you need to consider when you're looking at them?
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on the farm really pretty heavily that I've noticed. So I participated in one that was pretty well established. And so they already had like a lot of fruit trees and a lot of different, so they had that time. So that's part of it. Like if you go get into one that is, been going for 20 years, they kind of have an understanding of like, we're going to have this amount of fruit and this amount of vegetable. This is what you can anticipate, but there can be some fluctuation within the year on that a bit.
Okay. And then what about if they had a problem or they lost a crop? How is that?
I have never had that happen.
Okay.
So I can't, from my own experience, have said this is how we dealt with it, or this is how, I think part of that is the risk. Like there is a risk factor in there, and you'd have to look at, there might be like a contract that you write or that they say, and they have like it outlined out. And that would be a good question for the individual farm that you want to work with. Like, what is your intention if, gosh forbid something negative happens, especially if you're concerned about like that risk. So I think it's good to ask that ahead of time and get clarity and have it in writing, have it written down, have it to where you can refer back to it, so that the line doesn't change.
Okay. And then as far as the buying beef or a pig, do they normally charge a fee for dispatching?
Yeah.
And if so, is it charged by the butcher or the farmer?
Typically that's charged by the butcher. It's called the kill fee.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, typically there is I've seen like $25 to $45 is oftentimes. I think that they tend to do it themselves. They don't want to have you go do it. It's part of the process on their end. And there could be a legality reason for that. I'm not really sure on that end. But yeah, typically that's also an added fee.
And then on the cut list, are you able, if you want the liver and the heart, do they go over all that with you, or the tallow and the leaf fat and all that? Is that something that they go over with you at the time you
are going to want to clarify if you want that, because they're not going to, a lot of times people have not valued those items. And so they are kind of in the mode of discarding of that. But like, if you clarify ahead of time, we want to keep these things, then yeah. So that's not necessarily a question they'll ask. So you definitely want to make sure that you let them know ahead of time that you want to keep those things.
So that, and for like bones,
Mm-hmm.
for soup bones or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that, you just need to be clear.
Yeah, you're going to want to be clear up front, like that you want to keep X amount of the bones, or like kind of think about how much storage do you have for some of that though, like truly, because they're going to go through the work of cutting and processing it. And then if you know, on the back end don't actually have the room for, that's a lot of room. Like that would probably add another chest freezer. If you kept everything on a cow, like that would be a lot. So depending on how big, if you got like a half, but yeah. I have not done where I kept all the bones and all the things. You end up getting quite a bit of like soup bones and stew meat and that kind of thing just with the natural process. So,
Okay, another question. Do you ask farmers if and what they spray?
I do. That can be touchy. Oftentimes I just say, hey, like, what do you use on the produce? Are you applying pesticides? There's certain ones our family just philosophically tries to avoid. And so I'll ask specifically those. So yeah, I do. And some do spray certain things. They are not necessarily negative. They still are beneficial. Like, for instance, like orchards, like they have to spray certain things sometimes in the orchards for the maggots and different things. So a lot of them, they live, like there's one, for instance, that I know locally, they live in the middle of the orchard. So what they use to control the maggots, they try to be as ecologically beneficial as possible. So yeah, you can ask them. And a lot of times they'll answer, they'll even show you a lot of times. They'll be like, this is what we are using, and you can make a decision as a consumer. You know, sometimes that matters to people and sometimes it doesn't. So that's an individual boundary, I guess.
And then to know and go do your research on those specific chemicals or whatever they're using.
Yep.
And then, because pretty much they're going to use something at some point.
A lot, yeah, a lot of times, yeah. And
so
that's,
don't be scared from that.
yeah,
I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah.
Okay, and then we have a comment from Sheila, said we had to write on the bottom of the order sheet that we wanted the lard. It was not listed and we got double because no one else took it.
Yeah, because they're used to you just tossing that. That's exactly right. That's smart to have it added. That's a good point, Sheila, to add it to the cut sheet. Just write down those specifics that you're, inquiring on.
Okay, that is all our questions.
Awesome. Did
Okay.
anybody have any resources to share?
I don't know if anybody has any resources and you want to put it in the chat, please feel free to do so.
Especially if you're not like in our local area. I would love to hear, I can look at a national search, but if you have like individual resources that you found are beneficial and you're not in our area, I would love to hear about that. So
can they email you through your website? Just to kind of have like another resource in the VIP vault of these kind of across the country with all of our members?
Yeah, and you can message me on because I'm in the Mighty Networks. So if you want to find me as a member, I believe they can find me that way too.
Yeah.
You can send it to me that way and I can make sure that it gets put on the resources area too. So
okay, and then if they're not part of National Ladies Homestead Gathering,
just contact me through my website.
And your website again, if you want to go ahead and say it.
Oh, let me look it up real quick, guys.
Is it? I think I have it right here.
Yeah, look it up because it's Upper Left Trading Co. But it's not like all one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for those people on YouTube, I will be sure to put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
so go look there.
You can find me on Instagram too. It's Upper Left Trading Co. at Upper Left Trading Co. on Instagram, and you can message me there. Just be like, hey, I was watching on YouTube and I have this resource I want to share. I answer. So
okay, yeah, and your website is https://www.upper-left-tradingco.com.
Perfect. Sorry, it's a mouthful.
All right. Okay, thank you guys. We are done for the evening. Please be sure to check the VIP vault for the recording and the slides from her presentation, as well as the VIP discount code. And we will be back next month. And we have Amy Hamill, who is going to be talking to us all about mushrooms. So be sure to join us next month. And thank you guys for your patience during our little technical difficulty. And we will see you all soon.